Shalom, family. This is your brother Tekoa Malachi. I know you guys been waiting a while. I told some of you guys that I was going to have this COINTELPRO 2 out. It just took me a while to gather all the information that I needed, and we had some other things that we had to take care of. But I know it's been highly anticipated, and I'm going to try to not let you down with the information. It was really profound information. I definitely want you to pay attention. Please go watch COINTELPRO 1, Attack on Black America. This is COINTELPRO 2. Very important information to get and to understand and internalize, to let you understand the time that we're living in and how we got to be led by the Most High. Allow the Ruach to give us divine connections, and that we may look back at our ancestors and learn from their mistakes and learn from their time here on how to move and the wisdom it'll take on how to go in and come out with any things that we're trying to do in the Most High. So, without any further ado, let's get started. We're going to do a smaller review, but not much, because I really want you to go to part 1 and get more of the detailed information about how we started this or what COINTELPRO is about. But we'll give you a short definition and then what it entails, and then we're going to keep going. Let's move. All right, so let's give the definition, and this is the guy that spearheaded COINTELPRO, J. Edgar Hoover. You can look him up and get more information about him. But COINTELPRO is counterintelligence program. Again, it's counterintelligence program started in from 1956 supposedly to 1971. I don't know if this is well, anyway, I think that's the time period it was in, but it's still going on now. And it was a series of convert, that means hidden or behind the scenes, and at times illegal projects conducted by the U.S. FBI aim at surveilling or infiltrating or discrediting and disrupting domestic political organizations. Again, the COINTELPRO was a series of convert, which is hidden or behind the scenes, and at sometimes illegal projects conducted by the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation aimed at surveilling, is watching, also infiltrating, discrediting, and disrupted domestic political organizations. The FBI record showed that COINTELPRO resources targeted groups and individuals that the FBI deemed to be subversive, including the Communist Party, anti-Vietnam War organizers, activists of civil rights movements or Black Power movement. Some people like Martin Luther King Jr., Nation of Islam, the Black Panther Party, the feminist organizations, the American Indian movement, independence movement, such as the Puerto Rican independence groups, the Young Lords, different organizations like that, where they aim to put them under surveillance, infiltrating, discrediting, disrupting. This what they set up against us. Now, let's look at some of the intended things of what COINTEL's objectives. The intended objectives or intended effect of the FBI's COINTELPRO was to expose, disrupt, misdirect, and otherwise neutralize groups that the FBI officials believed that were subversive by instructing FBI field operatives to do what? To do this, to create a negative public image for the target groups. And most of the groups that they met have a negative public image. By surveilling them, surveilling activists, and then releasing negative personal information to the public. Another thing, part 2, was to break down the internal organization by creating conflicts by having agents excavate racial tensions or send anonymous letters to try to create conflicts. Next thing they do, they create decisions between groups by spreading rumors that the other groups were stealing money or something of that effect. To restrict access to public resources by pressuring nonprofit organizations to cut off funding or material support. Also to restrict the ability to organize and protest, and also to restrict the ability of individuals to participate in group activities by character assassination, false arrest, and surveillance. So we're looking at the the goals of what they was trying to do. Shares us a review. Now let's get into the new information. Now, I want you to understand this quote. It says, "You'll never understand the magnitude of how great your ancestors were until you understand the magnitude of the system they face. And you can only understand that through understanding the history that was never taught. The magnitude of the system would demonstrate how great the people are." So if you look at this system and how great this beast system is against us as a people, it shows you how great that we were as a people and that we still are, and what they're trying to keep us from getting to. So the greater the deception, or the greater the magnitude of the beast, is the greater the people are that they that they are trying to the system that we're facing. So let's keep moving. Now, I didn't have time to go into all of these things. I didn't want to make the presentation 7 hours. But this is a depopulation agenda that is out there. I believe Joshua has done some teachings on some of these things. You can check out his Terminator Judgment series, one of the most profound series that we have, man. Go check that out, especially part 2. Powerful information. I believe it has some of these things in it. But it's depopulation is what they're after. So it's different things that you can go look up. Go look up Global 2000, Agenda 21, the National Security Memo of 200. Again, Global 2000, Agenda 21, the National Security of Memo 200. That's going to put you on a trail to get more information about what they are and how they are slowly trying to kill us overall. One of the main things that they have in the black neighborhood is Planned Parenthood, Planned Parenthood, however you say that, as a form of depopulation, especially in the black community. And a lot of that deals with sterilizing and abortions. Another system that they set up was the prison systems to get most of our men and women now into these prisons as a way to keep us from procreating. And all these things is set up because we got to realize that we are actually in a war. We wake up every day and we think because we got a job, because we got a car, that we got a house, that these things ain't systematically against us as a people. Everything. So this is why we have to be awakened to what this thing is trying to do. The first thing it's trying to do is neutralize us from procreating, right? So anyway, if you look in the scriptures, that most of the times when something was prophesied about a coming Messiah that was going to raise up the people, you would always see these governments coming in and try to kill the prophesied babies so what they can keep their control, keep their dominance, and so their kingdom can stay. So this is why the kingdom of Esau, Edom's kingdom, it says that that Jacob will rule after the end of the world is Esau, but Jacob is world's coming after that, or his kingdom coming after that. So they're letting you see that they're trying to do everything to prevent the prophecies of the kingdom coming. One way they're doing that is through population control. That's abortion, that's prison, and people don't realize that homosexuality is a weapon. It's a weapon of the elite of this beast system to do what? To sterilize and neutralize us. So we won't be having, this is why they push the homosexuality agenda. This is why they push the trans lesbian, transgender, LBGT, or however you call that thing. Is the reason that is a push in there, of course, because they wicked, but the end thing is depopulation. Because you're not procreating. So if I can turn half of y'all into homosexuals, into lesbians, I can instantly keep your numbers of procreating under control. So with the weapon of abortion, because we are the highest rate, we are the smallest percentage of people in America, but we have the highest rate of abortion. We have the highest rate in the prison system. And we growing to have the highest rate in homosexuality, and we accepting all these things and don't realize this is war to depopulate us, to neutralize us, and cause us not to receive the kingdom and the rulership that's coming. Any type of way that they can depopularize that, they're going to do that. So this is why they push the homosexuality agenda. This is why they push in the music industry everything that would cause you to go to prison. Look at the music industry. The stuff that they push is going to cause you to either end up in the grave or end up in the prison system. They glorify selling drugs. They glorify going around having sex with all type of women and raising children with no parents, where they grow up in rebellion and let the culture be the one that raised them and nurture them, that prepares them to do what? To go to prison. And the same system or cycle of things continuously happen. Because a lot of the record labels and music professionals have profits, or what you would call not just profits, but investments in these private prison systems that they work together. They create the music, they create the lifestyle, they create the image that would either have you end up in the prisons. And then create the system, create the laws to make sure that they harder on Israelites or people of African descent, Israelite descent, to make sure, yeah, you go into prison and I'm a benefit financially for that. So we got to look at these things as war agenda, satanic war agendas, and this is what's happening. So we have to wake up, people, and realize what's going on. So I played this video in the last video, but I want to play it again because I want us to understand what type of war that we're in.
Propaganda is essential to any military campaign. Black people tend not to understand propaganda. And the reason why we tend not to understand propaganda is because the propaganda channels, the mediums, the conduits, the radio, the television, the newspaper, we tend to just treat as forms of entertainment. We don't see them as military strategy. When there's a movie depicting black people in a negative image, when there's caricatures in the newspaper making jokes about black people, we tend to just see it as political entertainment. We don't see it as laying the foundation before the storm. That's exactly what they did in Wilmington. You always seek to create a context that allows your military campaign to be acceptable. There's always context. You study Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany. He had a propaganda campaign that lasted over a year before he began to physically oppress the Jews. He had to make sure that the national mindset had been conditioned to accept the extermination to come. In Wilmington, North Carolina, the same exact thing happened years before Nazi Germany. Through the magazines, through the radio, through word of mouth, through stage play, they created negative images of black people in the minds of white folk in case there were any liberals who would have been against what they were going to do. They were slowly able to reform their opinion by constantly repeating negative information about the target population. See, the one thing about the brain that we got to understand is the creature of repetition. Whoever has the most access to the brain rules the brain. It's all about volume, not quality. The more you tell people that a certain group of people are no good, the more you show images, the more you show sounds, song, poem, dance, projecting negative information about a people, sooner or later, the subconscious begins to get conditioned automatically, because you can't turn off the subconscious to what it sees and what it hears. Sound and image, you cannot stop it except to stay away from it. So sound and image are critical to any propaganda campaign because they help lessen the defenses of anyone who may be against what you're trying to do. It's the same thing happening right now. There is a direct assault on the image of the black man and woman internationally. So when mass incarceration, homicide takes place, nobody cares what's happening to black folk because they've already been conditioned to believe that these people are better off dead anyway. So propaganda is the first stage of military warfare. Right now, we're being set up for another extermination campaign. It's going to be worse than what went on in Wilmington, Tulsa, Charleston, Rosewood. It's going to be worse. Whenever the propaganda gets worse, then you know the extermination is going to be that much worse, because you see how far the exterminator had to go in order to condition the people to prepare them for the carnage to come.
And that's so true. You gotta look at the propaganda purposes to make people see that the other people are lose their humanity and what they're trying to show you. You have to be mindful. Once you see the um, media starting to heighten its attack, propaganda attack against a certain people, or trying to show us a certain image of a people, all they have to do is consistently show, like the brother said, consistently show imagery and sound. What you continuously hear, what you continuously see, you begin to accept, and your defenses get low, and you lose your ability to perceive these situations right, to judge it righteously. And so this is why we have to realize that all the news stations, that's why you can't be sitting up just watching news and just looking at all these things, because what is creating a imagery of you, because your image, if I can control your images, then I can control your perception of reality. So this is why we have to begin to break away from what we seeing and what we hearing, and really begin to look at these things on a full scale, so we can really understand where the propaganda is trying to lead us. And now you're going to see that a lot of this media coverage and different things like that, and what the government's trying to implement against black identity extremists, we're going to be demonized as domestic terrorists, and the propaganda is going to come that's going to lead behind it. You see what I'm saying? They already got, even though I'm not for the movement, Black Lives Matter, but I am for that idea. I understand the idea. But when you look at it, all that movement is already demonized as a terrorist group, and they never killed anybody. They never murdered anybody. They never killed a cop in the name of Black Lives Matter, or in the name of an identity, a black identity group. You see what I'm saying? But the propaganda has been pushed in such a way that it has created a hate for these people in this organization, and they have been demonized, especially have been demonized as domestic terrorists without killing a soul. You see what I'm saying? But that's how this propaganda and this media can begin to transform your mind. This is why Hasatan is called the prince of the power of the air. He can really, through all these news stations, radio stations, begin to give you another image, a perception, or another reality of what the truth is, or what you're seeing. All right? So let's keep moving. So we have to look at, right, how did we leave from this presentation, right? You look at all the leaders that was in the 60s and the 70s, and how they was dressed and how articulate they are. Now, I'm not saying that this is the proper way to dress, but we know that this is terribly improper. I'd rather see this all day than this. You know, of course, having on our ancient ancestral clothing, or things that embraced, or even this is fine. But what I'm saying, what in the world happened? Because we got to realize that these men, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, the Black Panther movement, all these brothers was young, man. We got to realize these brothers, they was starting, they was in their 20s. Doing these things. It wasn't like they was in their 40s of what we would look at now, 40-year-old man leading these type of discussions and demonstrations, and organizing these type of people. These people were young, in their early to late 20s when they was doing these things. So it's no excuse for us, you know what I'm saying? So, but you have to realize that after these movements, it had to be some in place to socially engineer a war on black progression, because they couldn't have this defiance and this articulate, educated brothers, the way that they spoke, the way that they demonstrated themselves, and the results. It had to be something that they used to socially engineer our people to get to this level. And one of the things is what we hear and what we see, we will become. Again, what we hear and what we see, we will become. So what avenue did they use? They use imagery and sound. What is imagery and sound? The music industry, um, the entertainment industry, all these industries that is powered by Hasatan has been used to socially engineer these people to their sons and daughters to be like this. You see what I'm saying? So let's look at some of the power that the entertainment industry have, because these people, or our people here, our young men, are influenced by this. You can't say they're not influenced by this, because they have become what they continuously saw and what they continuously hear. Because they didn't continuously see or hear this, it was a disconnect, and they became the birth child of this. Not saying that these people here didn't make mistakes, because it had to be mistakes to breed our children being like this. But this is these young men and young women are a direct result of the birthing of this culture here, right? So let's look at this power. Music has the power to teach you things that you don't want to learn. This feeds your subconscious, not your conscious mind. Music are able to bypass your consciousness and enter your subconscious. So this is why you can even learn songs without even knowing that you're trying to learn it, because you have continuously heard it so much it has become a part of your nature. I can give you one commercial as a example. Everybody know the best part of waking up. Everybody know the last what's Folgers in your cup. We didn't try to learn that. We didn't try to bring that. That's something that we continuously heard, and something that that became in us because we continuously heard it. So think about this music industry and everything that they put in their songs, by being a thug, by being a gangster, women by being a thought, being a hoe, being a bee, and being like really promiscuous. All the songs and all these things have influenced these, right? Music teach you things that you don't want to learn. It enters your subconscious without your consent. It creates a desire for something you would not consciously desire. It will make you purchase items you don't need. It will make you angry, sad, happy, glad, central. It has the power to influence your lifestyle choices. A lot of this does have the power to influence your lifestyle. And if you listen to this more, it'll have more influence than you over you than your actual parents. When you really look at how music was going and how rap music initially started off as a conscience music, and letting you know about fight the power and different things of that system. But then when this group here came out with called NWA, the world's most dangerous group, when these brothers came out calling each other niggas and wanting to fight and promoting violence and criminal activity, not just them, but the whole aspect of thinking of gangster rap, when that came into play, this is the birth child of the children of that. So this music industry, right, that has more influence than most parents in a home, is a setup for the prison system or a setup for the grave. That's basically what it is. So this is how we have socially engineered a people from this mindset that COINTELPRO came in and disrupted this, disorganized this, neutralized this, and then created a system and music that will have more influence to create this, to create this type of thinking, where we'll be so involved with music, with sports, with different things that don't matter, that we won't really realize the things that are going on behind the scenes that's causing the demise of these people overall. So we have to be mindful of the war that we are facing, because all the music you listen to is socially engineered. It's a war tactic. The entertainment, the movies you're looking at is a war tactic. Look at all the movies that depict us as black people. All of them have is a bunch of people cheating on each other, a bunch of people drinking, a bunch of people smoking, people in and out of prisons. That's the basis of what our movies are about. The Tyler Perry movies, all your movies what have us depicted in the soul plane is just some foolishness. You see what I'm saying? But it's all a war tactic to create a imagery of black people in a mind and some other nations, other ethnicities. The reason they're so scared of us, afraid of us, or have no compassion, some of the reason is because of the imagery, because a lot of them don't have relationships with us as a people, so their interaction with us is based off what they see on TV. And that's not the real us. This is showing you COINTELPRO on another level. You see what I'm saying? Now watch the entertainment emasculate us, because it's, again, you look at these brothers, they strong, they men, the imagery of that, they're articulate in that aspect. And now what I have to emasculate them, I'm gonna take them from the gangster look or the gangster understanding, and now the music industry and sports industry is filled with homosexuals, because now the gangsters could still procreate, but if I turn these individuals into homosexual, then I can neutralize them in two aspects. I first have their mind in chains, and then I have their seed in chains, because they won't desire to procreate. Now, social engineering, COINTELPRO on a whole nother level. So let's look at this. Let's look at this transferring, trying to take the identity of the male and make him try to make him a woman, make him feminine. You look at the clothes that the basketball players are working out with, they get more and more effeminate as we go. And they know that these people, these music industry stars, Lil Wayne here, these are women pants. He wearing leopard pants. Us men should not wear these same thing here. Look at Lil Wayne with some capris on. Not Lil Wayne, but Dwayne Wade with capris on, because they know these people have influence over the youth. And slowly but surely they are feminizing the men. Now we got male purses. You can look at Snoop here, Terrence Howard, Kanye West. It's a male purse. LeBron James, a male purse. That ain't no bag for no man. Look at Snoop Dogg here getting his nails done. He gets beautiful French manicures. Look at this. It's slowly effeminizing our men. First, I'm going to make you gangster, but now I'm going to do it on a whole nother level and try to make you a homosexual or push homosexuality, so while we can depopulate you and still control you. An effeminate man would never stand up for him or his people, or die for the people, or lift the people up the way they need to. But we have a movement of men wearing skirts. We see it here. Emasculation. Kanye West, P. Diddy, the rapper here, I forgot his name, Eminem, right? Look at even models now coming out with men wearing dresses. This is another form of what COINTELPRO doing to control us. These are called mantis. I know that's funny as I don't know what, but they are called mantis with a girdle on them. Then you got what is called, women call bras, but it's called bros. I don't know why a dude would need that. These are your mantis here, and also these are your stockings. It's in a covert agenda behind the scenes to effeminize our men now, so we won't have that masculinity or that strength to stand up as men and lift our people up and take them to another level. It's their desire to allow us not to get back to the point where they dealt with our ancestors in the 70s and the 60s, rebelling against them and rebelling against the system. So let's look at the global elite thought of engineering, right? Social engineering. Watch this of what I'm saying. This is very important to understand. This is the objective of the global elite in our decision making. Let's listen. The gradual evolution of an individual's thought process is to where his or her mind is naturally thinking in tune with the desires, thoughts, and plans or patterns consistent with the New World Order. The objective is to so thoroughly condition people to that they will not realize that their thinking is being framed by any outside agency or people. Rather, that they will think that their thoughts are spontaneous. This is known as the evolution of human thought. I'm going to read that again. I want to read this part again. The objective is to so thoroughly condition, how we condition the people through the news, through the media, through controlling their imagery, through the radio, through the books, through the magazines. I want to condition the people that they will not realize that their thinking is being framed by any outside agency or people, but rather that they will think that their thoughts are spontaneous. So we really believing that we having spontaneous thoughts and not realizing that it is controlled by news media, controlled by CNN, controlled by Fox News, controlled by all these news industries, entertainment tonight, all these type of things that are going on that are giving us what to think, because one person will watch CNN and the other person will watch Fox News to go on their job and argue about political things and argue about all these things and what they done got gassed up through listening to their media outlets, and they have biases according to their media outlets, and it's hard to penetrate people's mind to show them what's really going on, because they have demonized the idea of what truth and call it what conspiracy theories. You're in conspiracy theory, then watch what they do. They have all kind of movies with strange people and crazy people that look crazy, and saying they have conspiracy theories to get us to laugh at that, to get us to think those type of people are crazy, when a lot of it is true. And now when you're trying to break into all the falsehood that people's minds been conditioned, you'll look like an enemy, you'll look like a fool, you'll look like you're crazy, because what you've been conditioned to see that. Right? Watch this. The next slide. On that side, what does the word subliminal message mean? So this is a lot of stuff that are going on behind the scenes that you can't see directly, but that is influencing your subconscious. The word subliminal message means a hidden mystery, spiritual message, or concept that has the ability to influence or controls one's subconscious mind or will, which is embedded into a sign. This is why signs are important. They're symbols, pictures, movies, art, or statues. Subliminal message also means to program the mind on a subconscious level using images, pictures, symbols, frequencies, signs, and sound waves. Subliminal messages are messages hidden in signs, symbols, pictures, movies, music, sounds, art, graphic designs, which cannot be easily detected by one's own conscious mind or physical eye. So this is why it's important. This is why they spend all those time on those images and all this type of thing, because it's all social engineering you to believe that you are actually choosing something when they gave you both choices to direct or influence you towards the goal that they desire you to have. Let's keep going. So now, I'm going to show you that most of the news stations, you know how in the military they tell you to get information. Information. Now, when you look at it, when you look at information, that's exactly what's happening. That they are giving us, that all these news stations are saying the same thing in order to what? To get you information in a zombie type state, that you're not using your mind freely to think about the things that are happening, or to have the right perception or the reality of it. So let's look at some of the news stations to show you the reality of this.
When so many in the media are reporting the same stories, promulgating the same narratives, relying on the same sources, even using the same phrases. I mean, think of it. There are literally thousands of legitimate news stories that could be reported in a given day, and an infinite number of ways to report them. When everybody's on the same page, it might be the result of an organized campaign.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about double-edged one-sided news stories plaguing our country. plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish the same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same stories aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Hey guys, we're getting
Extremely
information.
dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our
Conditioning our
democracy.
mind. Look
This
at
is
the
extremely
conditioning.
dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
And this is what you call conditioning.
There's a growing anti-intellectual strain in this country. It may be the beginning of the end of our informed democracy.
This is what I mean. Look at that. Look at how they condition our mind. Now we'll take something like this and internalize it and go fuss with people about political views or things that are going on based off what we heard off the news, and not realize that the news is a controlled entity to put you in formation with the goals and ideas of the elite. You see what I'm saying? So this is why everything it's like the WWE. It's like a wrestling match. You think that wrestling is real. When I was a child, I thought wrestling was real. You know, you really thought you had your good guys and your bad guys, and you really thought that they was bad, and you really thought the other guys was good. So they'll give you both sides, and not realizing that they're all on the same team. They all work for the WWE. And it's this, or WWF when I was little, or WCW. It's the same thing. You know, you have CNN that's pitted against Fox News against CNN, and Republican and Democrat and all this type of stuff. All this stuff is to put you in formation. All this stuff is on the same team. You think you debating, and you think you're a Democrat. You think you're a Republican. And you think you for Fox News, which is more liberal, and CNN is more conservatives, and all these type of things. You trying to give you something to identify with, and all of it is putting you in formation. All of it is putting you in a zombie-like state. And what I mean zombie-like state, a state where you're not having free thought, where you're not thinking on your own, but you're thinking based off what they give you to think. You don't have your own mind. What they're letting you know that I am in formation. You see what I'm saying? So this is why we have to watch it. We have to be careful. And this is one of the things that we are in formation about. And not us now, but a lot of the people in this nation don't realize how the media paints images of us, right? When you look at a mass school shooting or something like that, then who does all the mass school shootings? Usually it's Caucasian people or Caucasian youth. If you look at all the terrorist activities, most of the majority of terrorist activities that happen in the U.S. has been done by Caucasians. From our inceptions here, if you take from slavery all the way up into the day, the most known terrorists that have been in America is who? It's Caucasian people. But we put out there. But what did they do after 9/11? They sold us the ideal that the Muslims are the number one terrorists. And now it's going to be looking like us as the domestic terrorists. And when the most domestic terrorists that there have been Caucasian people. That's why I don't understand how they can even be afraid of us. But you know how they're afraid of us? Because of the imagery that has been placed on the TV, that has been placed in the movies, that has been placed in the music industry. We have no history of violence here. We don't. Like how they demonize the Black Panthers, that all you look at them as people that killing police and all that type of stuff. But what they have sold you the image of them. But you will not look at them the same way, right? Look at how the news portrays. You got Michael Brown here. it got him that he struggled against an officer before shooting. And a lot of times with our children, even though they're victims, they'll look at some of their history to show their records that they was a thug and that they was this, or they sold drugs, sold this, and like somehow that justifies their death. But look at how they portray the young Caucasian. There, the shooting suspect was a brilliant science student. Look, it tries to uplift them. You see this craziness, man. You see this craziness with this. And let me show you, right? Most of the, let's go to this link real quick. And what it's going to do is going to show you in the news how they always demonize the victims, which is the when black people get killed, they go into their history, they go try to find something on it to show almost as if they are justifying the killing. Okay, y'all, excuse me. I don't know why this just did that. Let me get out of this and go back. Apologize. So this is why I'm saying that you can't allow the news and all these types of things to begin to warp your understanding, right? Begin to warp your understanding about what's going on and about what's happening overall. So let's go here. Let's see if we can put that where we can see it real good. Now you can go to the Washington Huff for this, right? And you look at this, have been done by a guy named Nick Wing. It says, when the media treats white suspects and killers better than they treat black victims. So let's see what he has here. This is showing you all the difference. This is a white suspect, Alabama suspect, what, brilliant but social misfit, right? This is how the little bit latest homicide. All right, here again, like we were speaking of, that it's important to understand that whatever you continuously hear and continuously see that's in front of you, your subconscious will end up accepting. So you have to be mindful of what you put before your eyes, like it says in Psalms 101, that I will be careful what I put before my eyes, for it would cling to me. So we would continuously see if all the world's perception of people of color, especially the American person of color, that all we see, know them, because some people only know us by what they see on TV, what they see on the old show Cops, what they see on our videos, in the sense of movies, where it just depict us as promiscuous drinkers, selling drugs, breaking up homes. I mean, just angry, fighting each other, killing each other, and that's their only perception of who we are. So that's how they're gonna view us. So it's just like when you, the ones that own the media controls the narrative of the perception. So this is why we wanted to show you how things are spent when it comes to terminology of when a white young kid, a white dude, go kill up a bunch of people versus a young black man being killed by the police or something of that nature. So we're going to show you this and show you the social engineering and the ability for them, like we said in the last video, for us to lose the humanity of the person, that when a black person is killed, we looked at him not as just as the victim, but we try to find something in his history in order to justify the killing. Just like when the woman just killed a young man, went into his house and killed him, talking about she thought that was her house, and she killed him. And what did they do? They went in his apartment and put out information about he had smoking of weed, like that's going to justify the killing. So it's just like every time that there's a black issue with a black killing, they always justify the killing based off of something in their history. And what we accept it, or it should have been resistant, or he should have said he was a thug anyway, or a ghetto anyway, and all these type of things where we lose the humanity of the person based off of our social engineering in this country of the perception of people of color. So this is why it's very imperative that you understand what's going on so you can unplug from the system of brainwashing or information. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to go through, and you can look up this website here. You can just go on there. It's called the Huffington Post, and when the media treats white suspects and killers better than black victims. So watch this. Let's look at the news articles. A white suspect in Alabama, suspect brilliant, but a social misfit. And he was a former college professor who eventually pled guilty to killing 3 colleagues and wounding 3 others in a faculty meeting in 2010. A black victim, Montgomery's latest homicide victim, had a history of narcotics abuse, tangles with the law. This is showing you that the headline of all.com ran about the shooting death of a 25-year-old black man in Alabama earlier this year. Look at how the difference of how they spin it. Another one, white suspect's son in Staten Island murders were brilliant. He's an athletic, but no, son in Staten Island murders was brilliant. He was brilliant, he was athletic, but he had demons where the death of his parents. So now they are justifying what he did based off of the death of his parents. It says this is how the Staten Island Advance covered the case of Eric Boussy, a mentally ill New York man who allegedly killed his parents. Now look what they said about a black victim. Trayvon Martin was suspended 3 times from school. Meanwhile, NBC News ran this headline doing ongoing coverage of Trayvon Martin's killing. See, they was not going into the person that murdered Trayvon Martin. They was going in and trying to find Trayvon Martin's history. Oregon, another white suspect, Oregon school shooting. And this is just the truth, man. I'm not spinning no color thing. This is just the truth of what's going on and what's happening. Oregon school shooting suspect fascinated with gun, but was a devoted Mormon, his friends say. Look how Fox News headline quoted his friends shot that 15-year-old Jared Michael Pageant had entered into a high school heavily armed and killed classmate, injured a teacher, and took his own life. Look how they spin it. Now let's look at a black victim. Police slain Lakeland teen had been shot before. Death possibly was drug related before they even found out the information. It said, but in Florida, this headline was in alleged focus on a police account that made the death of a 19-year-old seem somehow expected or at least unsurprising. Notice how every kid that goes and do a mass murder, they can always retain them without killing them. But a young man that didn't go around killing other people, he could have had, just like Eric Gardner, he was selling cigarettes, or like the young man that was in the car that was trying to get his gun license. You mean to tell me that they can't apprehend none of them without killing them, but every kid that's going up, shooting up these schools, they're able to apprehend all those? You see? I'm just trying to show you the war that is against us as a people. You know, we think we just living. We don't realize there's an entertainment war against us. We don't realize that there's a social media war against us. There's a political war against us. That's a criminal war and justice system war against us. All these things that we take for granted is war against us, but we don't realize that we're in war because we're comfortable enough with our jobs and comfortable enough with our homes because we can buy a big home or buy a nice car, that we're comfortable enough that don't realize that the war is going on. And then it's against us as a people, as a whole. So you can't disassociate it from your ethnicity because your ethnicity is what is attacked in this country. All right, so let's keep going. Santa Barbara shooting. Suspect was soft-spoken. He was polite. He was a gentleman, ex-principal says. In the wake of the mass shooting in Santa Barbara, California earlier this year, the YDA Daily News offered a headline showing that one man's disbelief that Elliot Roger could have committed such a crime. So this is showing you the difference. A black victim, Ohio man was carrying a variable pump air rifle, not a toy when cops killed him, Attorney General. Look at the difference on how, you can go all the way down, man. And you can go on your own time, get to this website, and you can see the complete difference here. Again, this is the www.huffingtonpost.com. Or you can type in into Google when the media treats white suspects and killers better than black victims. Now I'm going to show you this video, and it's going to spell out what I just was speaking of earlier. Let's see, can I start it from the beginning?
What do you see? An animal running and it's hunting season? What do you see? A rebellious slave who didn't stop at your command? What do you see? Your life in danger as he runs for his?
All
Because he's seen boys who look like him comply and still get killed? Let me tell you what I see. A beautiful black boy who deserves the same grace you give others who look like you but still run away from you.
Look at all these kids that's killing people with no incident. Apprehended. Look at this. Without one death. Let me take it back real quick. Let me show you something. Let me see. Let me go back. I want to get on that kid right there. This kid right here, they picked up the one that went in there and shot the store. Shot up the people, not the store, but shot up the people in the church. This kid right here, they apprehended without killing him. He said he was hungry, and they took him to Burger King to get something to eat on the way to jail. You can look that up. This is insane. But this is what I'm talking about is perception, family. Perception, social engineering war. We at war, we don't realize it. Against us as a people have always been. This ain't nothing new with us being in different captivities, you see? If you, by understanding the history of who we are and the covenant that we have with with the Most High. All right, so again, let me go on this page so you can see, so you'll be able to see the website if you want to get that website and look at that for your own personal studies. For your own personal studies, there we go. If you can see that, that's the website. If you need to pause it, you can pause it there and get the information there so you can go. But let's keep moving. So this is nothing new under the sun, because the main thing, even with that, is you got to look at why in the world are we consistently having these police killings, right? Being stopped by the police. It would seem like that there should be a lot on police reform now. If I'm a policeman, because of all the shootings, because of all these things that's going on, it should seem like that I would be trying to be more careful when I pull people over, or that I would be trying to, get myself in the community, get known, so we can take away the stigma. But it seemed like it's getting worse. It seemed like it's getting on a whole nother level. It seemed like they have gotten an order on how they should apprehend, and how they should apprehend us. So when you look at that, you have to go back into slavery time to understand what's going on now. A lot of people are like, why you caught up in slavery and why you caught up in all that? We done moved on. No, we still in the same predicament, but it's slavery by another name. It's another institution. It's another way. It's more deceptive now, but it's still a type of bondage. But watch what the masters would do, because I used to wonder, how could the masters and a few of the master's guardmen or taskmaster control hundreds of slaves, right? And when you look at the Willie Lynch letter, it gives you information to give you greater understanding of that also too. But what did this man do, and why would he have everybody outside to see this when he was whipping him? in order to put fear and control in all these people. When somebody would violate the orders of the masters, what they would do, they would take the slave and bring everybody out and beat them in front of everybody. Sometimes they would beat them to the point of death. Sometimes they would beat them and then set them on fire. Sometimes they would castrate them in front of everybody. Sometimes the men would rape the other men in front of everybody. And sometimes they would get another black man to whoop this black man to create animosity between the two. Or they would get another black man to rape another black man, call it buck bucket. Buck busting or something like that. I forgot the name of it. I apologize about that. Buck breaking. Yeah, thank you. Buck breaking is what they would call this, right? So this would put fear in these people on a mass scale that they wouldn't want this to happen to them. So they was willing to take any and everything just to survive to the next day, because they didn't want this to happen to them. So this was instituted in order to put fear, which brings control. The fear of this brings control in the eyes of this. Now, let's transform that to 400 years later to this. Now, when a black man get pulled over now, we don't consider rights, right? Because we have seen everything that this man could try to do to comply and still end up being killed by the police. So when a black man is pulled over, all he's thinking about is comply. He ain't thinking about any so-called rights I'm supposed to have in the Constitution. A lot of times when a black man or black woman get upset because they're getting pulled over and getting taken out of the car, their rights are being violated, and this is why they're getting angry. No, they ain't resisting, but they knowing that he is going beyond the boundaries of his control. And this is what makes black people or other people or minorities get angry. And when they start snatching on him and pulling on him, he's yanking his hand away, but he call it resisting. And then he tase him, or either he cuff him and then shoot him. Or he tase him, he cuff him, or he shoots him. So we have seen enough of that for now to know when we get pulled over, we just want to, it's so much fear now, we just want to make it to the next day, or to make it past this. So, but what are the media doing? When the media push stuff like this on a mass scale, it put fear in all of our eyes and all of our hearts, that when we get pulled over, we're not thinking at all about any rights that we have. All we're trying to do is get to the next stop or get to our next destination without being killed. So we give up our liberties for security of life. The same thing that was going on here, now when you put it on TV, you put it on a mass scale to incite fear and control in the mind of the masses. And this is why we consistently see these killings and consistently see them online, right? Because it's order, because they are training us to get ready for martial law. When martial law hit, you have no rights, you have no control. They can come in and get whatever. So it's a training for martial law that is happening without our consent. Well, we're just trying to, because I've been telling people for the longest, the next place they're going to go from the cars is to the houses, and we have already seen that with this lady knocking at this door and shooting this man and killing this man, and then gave a lame excuse. And you're going to see more house invasions without warrants, without anything. It's going to be on video. You're going to see people getting killed. And the next thing you're going to say, just like people are saying now, well, why did he resist? Why was he resisting? And the next thing you're going to hear people saying, well, why he just let him in the house? He should have just let him in the house. Then he wouldn't have got killed. She wouldn't have got killed. All this is training for fear and control. The same thing that happened back here is happening in a different way. The same consistent thing of control. Because you got to remember that after all the lynchings were after slavery was over. So you will get this book called 100 Years of Lynching. All these things happened after slavery was over. It was slavery by another name. They were still killing us. Then this is why we say that they have pushed in our mind their perception of domestic terrorists. And when you think about a terrorist, the first person you're thinking about is a person of Islam. That's your mind immediately go to that, based off what happened in so-called 9/11 with the Twin Towers. One day we'll do a video and bring the truth of that. But that was the leading way in order to establish domestic terrorists. And it's going to go from Islam to turn around to what? People of color. And we're seeing that. But the greatest domestic terrorists that have ever been in the United States have been the alt-right or the right-wing leftists or white people. I mean, that's just honest. Black people don't have a history of violence, but we are the most feared for some reason in this nation without even having a history of violence. Every time that we did a mass violence, it's based off of self-defense. When Nat Turner did it, what you gonna do? Everybody around you getting beat, killed, and raped. Your women getting raped. Your daughters getting raped. Your sons getting sodomized and killed and getting castrated and getting burnt alive. What you gonna do? Eventually, you're gonna stand up and fight. But the perception that they gave us of Nat Turner is a negative perception. You see what I'm saying? So this is why, like I'm saying, that the most domestic terrorists that we have seen in America has been the Caucasian. All the way through slavery. And the Jewish people, all the way through slavery. And then 100 years after slavery is when you got your lynching, your burning alive, your castration, all those things. Then you had your Jim Crow. You had your black codes. All these things has been terrorism against people of color. But they are not seen as violent people because of what? The perception that has been given through media, through TV, through media on all levels. So it's letting you see how we are in a war and we have to wake up and realize that. Now, am I saying go get your guns and go get to killing people and get ready to fight? No, I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying wake up and see what's going on so you can teach your children different, so they can understand that they need not to have allegiance to a nation that never had allegiance to them. Don't teach them to love deception based off of getting along with people. You see what I'm saying? So this is a whole nother level of COINTELPRO. Now, we're going to get into a little bit here. Because I know when a lot of people think about COINTELPRO, they think about the Black Panther. So we're gonna watch a few videos on that to give you, because a lot of people were saying they couldn't hear